All right, this is Stephen A. Williams, president and founder of the creditrepairshop.com, and this is part 2 of the 1099-C cancellation of debt video that I made. If you haven't if you didn't watch video 1, you need to watch it, because video 1 talks about how, number one, to clarify what a 1099-C is, which is a cancellation of debt. But there's a lot of confusion because people believe that you can get a cancellation of debt without ruining your credit. And that is totally impossible. I don't care what anyone tells you. And also, when you get a 1099-C, it is not coming from some secret bank account. This is going to be filed with the IRS as additional income for whatever amount they forgive. You can get a waiver, but that's where that's going to be filed, and the company is just going to cease all collection activities. They're going to just write it off. They're not going to sell it. They're not going to do anything. This could happen with an original creditor. This could happen with a debt collector. But also, to get into that situation with a 1099-C, there has to be some sort of provable hardship that they would believe. And just because you say, and just because you write a letter, that doesn't mean that they're going to accept your or believe what your hardship is. And also, there's certain hardships that they will never believe, which is financial hardship, unless it's something that is proven, like the company here, Master Lock, that they closed down, people lost their jobs. That could be something that could be utilized for a provable hardship, but more than likely, the ones that they're going to use, that they're going to really consider, is going to be something with the family or medical that could be proven, that could be documented. But for yesterday's video, I talked about saving your credit. So watch that video, because if you're trying to get out of debt without ruining your credit, which I do advise you to do if you're just struggling to make payments. I tell you exactly what you could do to get money in your pocket without getting loans, without doing a debt consolidation, how to put money in your pocket to start paying down debt. And I'm not talking about going out there to find another job, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're working, you're just barely making it because you have too many payments going out, I give you the strategy to take care of that. So to review what we're going to do, we're going to start off where we ended off, which is when you want to save your credit, this is what you could do. You got to get that person. This is the agent that's listening to your hardship, or that's going to review your hardship to see what they're going to do. You're going to know if they believe you, because they're going to offer you usually payment deferments, 3 to 6 months, reduce your interest rate, which will save you money, because if you have a higher interest rate and they lower it, that's going to make your monthly payment lower. Yes, it's going to take you longer to potentially pay it off, but still, that does not matter. What matters is that you're trying to get that breathing room so you can move forward. And then that reduction of payments, which those two would go hand in hand. So this is where you're at to save your credit. This is where you're at to save your credit. And before I move forward to part 2 video, which is where you destroy your credit, but there's a reason why you have to do it, is that if they do a cancellation of debt, I do want to make you aware of this. If they do this when you present it on this side, is that they will charge off your account. So if you're trying to save your credit and you do not fit into what they consider the hardship, or they accept your hardship and they just believe that you're not going to be able to pay the debt, and they come back and say, well, you owe us $5,000. Can you pay us $2,500? I want to warn you about something that will happen, is that if you accept that offer, which there is nothing wrong with that, because that's going to cut your debt in half. And if you had the money to pay it, that's going to, take away a debt and let you start to move forward. But they will charge off that account. So the next month, it will be reported on your credit reports, regardless if you miss payments or not, because this is something that they have to legally do with the contract with investment, contract with regulators, or not to contract with regulators, but for financial regulators with the government, is that they're going to have to charge off your account, show that they gave you that, made that deal for $2,500, and then they're going to send a debt forgiveness 1099-C to the IRS for the other $2,500. That will happen. So I want to make that clear to people, because people think that if you get a settlement, that it's going to just be, you know, at this point. I'm not talking about what we're going to talk about in video 2, because you would obviously know that that would happen. But right here, if you are offered a settlement, you need to know that they're going to mark it as charged off the next month. They will mark it off as charged off the next month. You might be saying, well, they offered the settlement, but that's the way that the books have to be reported. So I want you to understand that. So now let's go into video number 2, which is you are totally destroyed. You cannot pay the bills. You are getting sick. You are having a hard time managing your life. You're probably fighting with your spouse. Kids are acting up. You're using a credit card for grocery. You use a credit card for gas. Maybe the credit cards, you're not even making payments no more. Like, you can't even use those. So now this is the way it happens. This is how it happens. I'm just going to draw it out. So you get under so much pressure that you have all of these accounts that you're paying on. All of these payments. All of these payments. And what happens is, because of all the frustration, because of all the worries, can't sleep, all of this stuff, you come to the realization that you cannot make payments. It's like, I can't make any more payments. I'm just working and taking the money and walking it over here and paying the bills with them. That's what, in your mind, that's what happens. And physically, that is what is happening. And it makes people sick, make people get worried, because they're like, am I just existing to pay bills? Like, that's how people start to feel. I felt that way when I went through it in 1994. I was like, we used to make hardly any money, and now we're making more than $100,000 a year in 1994, and all we're doing is just paying for stuff. Paying credit cards, paying car notes, paying, for stuff at the store, all these gas cards. All we're doing is we lifted ourselves up to start a business, made more money, and all we did is just spent more money. So we made more money, but all that money was just being eaten up from all of the bills that we have. I made a video the other day, a short, that talked about this. Is that first it starts with one card, then another card. But what we don't realize is that that monthly payment starts to add up. It's like plus, and then all of a sudden it equals all your money is going out the door. All your money is going out the door. So you work 40 hours, or you do your business, because at that time I was running my company, so that's what I was doing. So all of that money that you make is just put out to all these places. Yeah, you get to enjoy it at the beginning, but at some point you're going to stop being able to enjoy it. And you're going to be like, all I'm doing is working and paying bills. And so the next step that happens is that you are probably sleeping in your bed. You're probably fighting with your spouse, or you both just say, hey, we just can't make it. And then what usually will happen is that the couple will break up because they think the money problem, they think that they have problems with each other, when it's not the problems with each other, they have a money problem. But because they don't want to face the money problem, they end up getting divorced. They end up breaking up the family. They end up, or they end up going out there doing something to try to cover up. So either they drinking or getting high, or they're cheating, doing all this other stuff because of this, because they're having problems here. They go to work, that, some people enjoy their work, some people don't. They got all these bills where it was like that car they used to enjoy, but now that payment is tearing them up. Those credit cards, they was going to the mall, they was having fun, buying all the clothes and stuff that they don't even wear all the time. You can only wear one set of clothes at a time, not all of them. So you don't need all of them. I caught myself with this. I was like, I looked in my closet and I was like, I got a whole row of blue shirts. I got a whole row of white shirts that are the same. So every time I went to the mall, I was buying these same dress shirts. So what I did immediately, I said, I'm going to donate them and said, out of here. And stop buying stuff that I didn't need. Stop by, even though I can afford it, stop buying stuff that I didn't need. Because that's money that you could use for other things. That's money that you could save. So all of this stuff you enjoyed. So don't get me wrong. We enjoy all of that stuff. But at some point, we get to the situation to where we just can't do it anymore. This is what people will say to themselves. They'll be like, I just can't do it anymore. I can't make it. They start getting sick. All of these things start to happen to justify why you can't do it anymore. So really, the problem is really just with your habits of spending, the way that you're utilizing your money. All of the other stuff is just growing from the root. So the drinking, cheating, spending money that you don't have, kids acting up, all of that is just stemming from what you're going on right here. Even problems at your job. All of that stuff is the leaves on the tree, but the root was the way that you was handling your money. Because I could tell you that if you handle your money, then you would be able to solve the other problems without having there being so much financial strain on the family. Not to say that money will not solve your problems. Money will just make your problems, will make you not have to worry about money when you're solving those problems. Because when you start worrying about money, then you don't even have the time to really dedicate to solve the problems. But if you don't have no money problems, then you can dedicate the time to solve the problems. It's hard for you to focus on paying the bills and keep the roof over your family's head, keeping the lights on, all of that stuff, when you need to solve something with one of your kids and you don't have the money to pay for help or whatever you got to do, or for counseling for you and your spouse, whatever that is. That's, if you don't have this problem, it makes it easier for you to dedicate time for the other stuff. So now this is the next step. This is the next step. You can't pay those bills. You just can't do it. So if you have stopped paying your bills, and this is what debt relief companies tell you to do, is that they say, well, just stop paying. Stop paying. And what they're hoping that you would do is that you would say, okay, well, I have all of these payments going out. Let's just say that these payments here, you got all of these payments going out. Let's say this one is 500, this one is 400, 300, 200. To just make this easy. Let's just make this easy, man. 500, so we got 1,500. 1,500 in payments that would have been going out. But you know, when I've talked with people, some of you, if you've already stopped making your payments, this becomes a difficult situation, because with debt settlement, to really be successful, you either got to have some money put aside to do settlements, or you really have had to been making payments and now you're going to stop making the payments. So with debt settlement, what they tell you to do is they say, you're making $1,500 a month in payments right now, so stop paying them. Pay us, let's just say that they say, pay us $750. You keep $750. So that makes the person feel like, okay, that I'm getting to keep money in my pocket, and I send them $750, and they're going to start settling these debts that I have. And let's just say that this debt is $5,000, this one is $4,000, 3,000, and I'm just using easy numbers, and 2,000. So you're thinking in your mind, okay, this 750, I could start, maybe they could settle these. And they'll say, well, we could do usually 50% on the dollar. That's what they'll say. But they can't guarantee the amount because the company ultimately makes that decision, but there's back and forth. So this is what they're going to do. And what they don't tell you that they do, and what any company is going to do, they can't do this for free. So there's going to be, for every settlement with these companies, you're going to have 25% premium, because they don't do this stuff for free. So you're going to have a 25% premium. So that means that if that company said, well, we'll settle that for $2,500, it's going to have to be $2,500 plus 25% for their fee. And they base that fee based off of the $5,000. They don't base the fee off of the $2,500. A lot of people don't understand that, and that's why a lot of people get frustrated. Not to say that it's not good. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that you need to understand what's going to happen. So also, when you do that, just in case you didn't get it, is that when you get into these types of programs, is that your credit is destroyed. Your credit is destroyed because they're going to say, stop paying. And what they're doing and what they're hoping is that there's going to be a 180-day window. A 180-day window. The reason why is because credit card companies, they have to charge off an account. They're going to close it probably the next month or 2 months later. But they're going to have to go through a 180-day period of no payments. And so if you're thinking about, that's 6 months of no payments. If you got 6 months of $750, you would be able to start settling, or they would be able to start settling some of your debt. But again, this is going to have to be a mindset shift, because what most people will do is that they will do bad things with this extra money. They didn't start taking care of stuff, and then they let this money keep going. And some people can't even afford to keep making that payment because they're not understanding how that process works. You can, so they will charge off the account in 180 days. During the process, they will be calling you during that. What about our money? What about our money? What are you going to do? Why no payments? All this stuff. They're going to email you. They're going to do all of that stuff. And they can sue you once it charges off. When it charges off, they can sue you. And these companies do not do that as part of their service. They will sue you for the money. And I can tell you, American Express, Discover, Barclays, Capital One, right now are suing people for charged off debt. They're like, this is what they're thinking is, why sell it for pennies on a dollar to a debt collector when we could sue them? We're the original creditor, and we could get payments mandated by the court with a judgment and get all the money plus the fees for our attorney and any other fees that we added up. During the charge-off process, during that 180 days, your $5,000 could end up being $7,000 because you're going to have fees, you're going to have penalties for every day that you don't pay that payment. So this is what you're facing. What I'm doing here is I'm just like giving it to you real. This is what is going to happen. So now, understanding that your credit is going to be destroyed, understanding that this is the solution, that you could do this on your own, or you could do this with a company, you could do this with us. We don't charge the same way that these companies do. But this is the solution. This is like solution number one. You're going to do these deals with the original creditors, with negotiation, with the hardship, like we showed in the previous screen. This is where your negotiation, I think this is what makes our company different. I have been talking to people who had came to us from debt relief companies and debt settlement companies, and they were like, I was like, you have a true hardship. Like, there was a young lady, veteran, has a discharge medical discharge medical disability from the VA, and that was not utilized to be able to get a generous settlement. We just finished a settlement. Lady owed $44,000. We settled everything, including our fee, for $12,000. And let me tell you the importance of that and what these debt collectors are starting to do now is that, number one, in some states, because cities and they're trying to figure out ways to make extra revenue. We know, like in my city of Milwaukee, they just raised the taxes to pay for police and sheriffs and department and other city pensions and stuff. Well, they're looking at different ways to be able to bring in more revenue. And for that lady that I just spoke about with the $44,000 debt, let me tell you what they did. That's why I make these videos, because this is very important, is that they utilize the sheriff's department to collect the money. So imagine this. You have a judgment against you, and they are like, the debt collector, in the past, hey, we could just, go and collect the money. We could go to your job or whatever to try to get the money. No, what they're doing now is they're taking one or two options. They're either getting a legal, the court order to take to your bank, and when you put the money in your bank, your paycheck, they take the money, right? All of it. Like people tell us they bank account raided, like all their money is gone. All of their money is gone. And they can do that. And you might be saying, well, how do they get to do that? How do they know when I'm putting the money in the account? They know that from your credit reports. They know that by the way that whatever you're paying, it doesn't matter. You could just have a light bill that's still on there. And they're like, well, they always pay that light bill on that time. That means that they had that money at that time. Even if you're late on your light bill, they're like, hey, we know because he or she pays that light bill usually around this day. That means that they're getting their money around that date. So they'll put that court order in, and as soon as that money hits that account, it is just shifted over to that account of the debt collector. They're using that. And in the state of Maryland, where this client was from, they use the sheriff's department. So you got to send the money to the sheriff's department. So that means that what would happen? We didn't, luckily it didn't get that far because we did the settlement for $12,000. But what if it would have went to the sheriffs and then they miss a payment? Is the sheriff going to come to the person's house and say, you missed that payment? And now look at the incentive it is for the sheriff's department to be involved, because there's a financial incentive. We've always talked about how the police are out there getting that quota. Like around the end of the month, they out there writing tickets, like speeding tickets. That's something that at least people my age, we've always talked about that. Got to get that quota. Well, what if there's a quota and a financial gain for collecting judgments? We don't want to get to that. I don't want you to get to that point. We want to avoid that. So in this process, your credit has been destroyed. Your credit has been destroyed. You submitted the hardship. Maybe one of the creditors will accept your hardship, either say a full 1099-C where it's all done, or they might do a percentage. They're like, well, we see that you had this hardship. Here's our settlement on the table. But your credit is still destroyed. So don't think about your credit at this point. Think about getting yourself out of that financial pressure. That's where I want your mind to be. So a lot of people, they get upset because they're thinking about their credit. I want to prepare my credit, and even though you got all of this debt that you got to deal with. You're not at that point yet. You're not at that point yet. So your credit has been destroyed. You are saving money for settlements. And you got to be very disciplined, because the relief is going to come off of you. That relief is going to come instantly off of you of that $1,500. That relief is going to come off of you because now you're saving that $1,500. If you're sending it to a debt relief company or you're putting it away for savings, that's going to come off of you. And you have to be very careful, because what some people do is they just that money now is used for other stuff because you haven't been enjoying life really. You haven't been able to go out and do things. You haven't been able to go to the movies and spend some extra money at the mall. Maybe even your car needs to, that car, you're sick of it. You can't drive it like, it just doesn't look good anymore. So you start thinking, man, I got that $1,500. Why don't I just take, out of that $1,500, I'm already making a car payment of $500. So why don't I just go ahead and trade in that car that I got, and they put that balance on top of there, and then now I just come out with $750 with a payment. That don't matter because I got $1,500 from what I'm saving for not paying those, and then you start the whole process over again. That's why most people, you don't even have to take my word for it, most people who don't go through this type of explanation will fail when it comes to debt settlement. I would say that if you look at any of the debt settlement companies that are out there, any of them that are out there, their failure rate is like, I would say about 90%, if not even more. And the reason why the failure rate is that is not because the company doesn't have a good plan. It's because they don't tell people exactly what is going on. They just don't. All they do is just have the person focus on this. What I tell people to do, and why our success rate is I would say our success rate, when it gets to doing this here with settlements, our success rate is 100%. And let me tell you the reason why. Because every step of the way, we're communicating with the client about what's happening with the creditor or the debt collection company. Those companies do not do that. They don't want to disclose that information to you because then they're going to be like, well, why are we paying you this fee? I don't know. I don't even want to say that. They just don't do it. We do it. Like there was a young lady yesterday. We went back and forth, tried to do a settlement. They were like, hey, we're not going on this. She wants to avoid going to court. So just think about this. If a person wants to avoid going to court and they're like, I just need to come to a settlement agreement, monthly payment that I could afford. That's what her wishes were. So we negotiated the lowest settlement offer with monthly payments. But the thing that we had to do is we had to get it in her mind. This is what is in front of you. What you're thinking does not exist. See, a lot of times people think because they either see stuff on YouTube or, I don't know, maybe they pluck it out of thin air, is that they think that there's a solution to something when it doesn't even exist. To make a solution, you have to have one party agree and another party agree. You do not make that party agree on something. And that party doesn't make you agree on something. But if you're the person who needs to have that settlement because they have the leverage on you, you need to understand what you can and can't do. And that is what we're good about doing. We get on the phone. We get on the phone with those companies and we talk about your side and we get them to understand it. And then we try to put together a solution. And then if the reason why we're like 100% is because we put it out there in plain English. This is what is on the table or the next step that they're going to take. And we make sure that we go over and over and over again to make sure that there is no other solution, and then the client ends up taking it. And that could be a great settlement offer, but you can't do a lump sum settlement offer if you don't have money to give to somebody. Like there are people, I don't know where they get this from, that they think that they can make a settlement offer to a company and they don't have money to make the offer with. People will do that. They will say that. And you just can't do it. So we always talk with our clients and say, tell us your situation. Where are you at with money? What do you want to do? And we will put that together with, if you want to do a lump sum settlement, how much money do you have? And then we will, and how much is the debt? And then we will say, hey, well, let's approach them with some offers. But if you don't have money to offer, then how can you offer a lump sum settlement? But some people don't have that understanding. So your credit is ruined. when you're doing this process, some of your accounts could be wiped away with a full 1099-C. Some of your accounts could be settled for less with the hardship, and then the rest is sent with a 1099-C. But you're going to have to get it in your mind that you got to be disciplined and not get yourself into more trouble. And then you're going to have to put together a plan, either yourself or you can have a company do it, and you put together a plan to start wiping away these debts. And it's going to take time depending on how much money you have and whatever other financial responsibilities that you got to take care of. But this is the plan that you'd be able to accomplish this. Now, in video number 3, I'm going to talk about what happens if a debt collector buys your debt. Because when it goes 180 days, and this frustrates a lot of people, when it goes 180 days, the companies, and we're going to get into more detail in video number 3, is that the company will, so let's just say this is the credit card company, and it goes 180 days of no payment. What they could do next is that they're going to do one of the two. They're going to maintain, and they're going to use their own legal department to collect, or a service that they utilize. And I said Discover, American Express, Capital One, Barclays, they're going after people with their own legal department. And I told you the reason why. They could also sell the debt. And this is what gets people frustrated. If the company decides to sell the debt, they sell it to a portfolio company. Even if you call the company, they won't be able to do anything with the debt. They will just say that we don't maintain the ownership of the debt. And that frustrates people because they're like, well, I have the debt with you. Why can't I just pay you? You gave me the money, or, so why can't I just pay you? And they can't accept it anymore because they don't have ownership of the debt. So in video number 3, I'm going to talk to you about what you need to do to deal with debt collectors, because this is very interesting. You could actually not have to pay the debt at all legally. And I don't consider that running from debt. That's a risk that debt collectors take when they buy debt from original creditors. So if you have debt collectors coming after you, grab my 3-pack of letters: statute of limitations, debt validation, cease and desist collection activities letter. The link is below this video. If you need help with your credit, please visit us at thecreditrepairshop.com. Watch the video, what makes us different, so you can see my 8-point validation process and my 2-phase settlement process. First step number 1, repairing credit. If you do have debt collectors or original creditor debt that needs to be settled, we have an additional service that we would bring you, give you the opportunity if you wanted us to handle that for you. That's an additional service that we would, but I show that in that video about both of those. If you need your credit reports and scores, go to the website the3scores.com to grab your TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit reports, and all 3 scores. Thank you for your time. Please subscribe to the channel, post your questions and comments.